This week on News Time, go teams, sports, balls. Yesterday was Super Bowl LII, or 52 for us modern day idiots. Passes were thrown, runs were ran, tackles were tacked, and maybe there was an interception or two. It is football after all. No, not soccer, rest of the world, football. The sport that'll make you paraplegic for life and or create life-altering brain trauma while also making you a man's man. As you can see, I played it, and I turned out... Today, we'll take a look at the history behind the best part of the game besides commercials, celebrity guests, and the actual game itself, the halftime show. Sorry, the Pepsi halftime show. Daddy needs sponsors. Ah yes, the part where watch parties, chatter grows considerably, and there's a mishap of sorts, all leading to the Monday conversation with way too long articles saying things like, is this part of the game even that important? And trying to make memes out of some stupid mascot on stage. Ready? Green 17! Green 17! Hike! First and 10 Hornets! News time!
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
All jokes aside, hey NFL, let's do something about this CTE thing. You're killing your own players. Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the comedy news you didn't know about. I got my cardigan on in the nick of time. Yesterday, the big game, otherwise known as the Super Bowl, took place between the New England Patriots, and the Philly cheesesteak Eagles. They weren't the Falcons or Cowboys, so I don't really care who wins. But my attention was, as always, turned to the big game. The big game. How much I love you. What's that? Why do I keep calling it the big game? Well, legally I can't call it the Super Bowl because this is the show. But also legally, I'm nobody, so come at me NFL, I dare you, jerks. Also, I don't make any money off this show, so you know. The halftime show of the Super Bowl is a tradition dating all the way back to the very first game. Back in the 60s and early 70s, they used marching bands for the entertainment. We've all been to high school and college games, so that really doesn't sound too fun to see a bunch of people just stomping around, especially back then. Just a bunch of partially racist people blowing hot air. Now that I think about it, it's not that different from today. For about 20 years, the show was dedicated to a specific theme, even after the shift from marching bands to actual performers. Look at the fourth ever Super Bowl held at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans in 1970. The theme was a tribute to Mardi Gras, obviously because of the setting. Performers included hometown favorite and opera singer Marguerite Piazza, as well as trumpeter and Louisiana Hall of Fame member Al Hirt, among others. A marching band even played When the Saints Go Marching In. They really laid the sauce on thick with that one. Is that what that means, sauce? I hope they serve po' boys and beignets. Ugh. Before we get into who has performed at the Pepsi halftime show, copyright, we have to take a look at what said performances actually do for the game. It turns out non-football watchers love it, and it turns them into spectators with their eyes glued to the boob tube, depending on what popular act is singing. And this year is a doozy. My friend and fellow man attempting to bring sexy back, Justin Timberlake, is set to take the stage for the third time in 20 years. This is right after he's released 2 singles for his new album, and just 48 hours after the album they're on, Man of the Woods, comes out. He's going to not only draw a huge crowd, but new fans, new money, and more will come of this. Ratings-wise, the actual show itself has been astounding as of late. The Super Bowl is obviously the most-watched TV show of the year, but the halftime show is nothing to scoff at either. The quarter hour manages to maintain the lead-in from the first half of the game. Take last year's Lady Gaga performance. 117.5 million little monsters watched Mother Monster's 13-minute series of song and dances. In contrast, I made a 13-minute video about Snapchat's troubles last week, and it only garnered 8 views. And I was 3 of them. She's second only to her pop equal Katy Perry, who managed to bring 118.5 million people in 2015 for Super Bowl 49, making her the most watched halftime show in history. Coincidentally, this same Super Bowl is the most watched thing in U.S. history with 114.4 million viewers. Who are the lucky souls that get to touch the field alongside the hundreds of players, coaches, staff, reporters, and other various bodies? They're the famous figures we all know and love. Most people remember the Coldplay, Beyonce, Bruno Mars year that is apparently a point of contingency. Don't know why. I liked it well enough. But everyone has their favorites, whether they be the most discussed, best, or worst, or ranking them all. There's always a common factor between the most popular, though. Prince's Super Bowl 41 performance is one of the most revered between every single list. He sang We Will Rock You, Foo Fighters' Best of You, and 1999 Baby I'm a Star. But, of course, there was Purple Rain. God, do I miss Prince. Other notable shows include Beyonce and Michael Jackson sets in Bowls 47 and 27 respectively. While themes have mostly left entirely, simply looking at the top three performances, one can see that there's a pattern. Pop acts are the ones, for the most part, who perform. That started in the 90s after a ratings incident with Fox, but we'll get into that later. Also, note that the nip slip between Timberlake and Janet Jackson in Bowl 38 caused rock acts to be the featured until 45, along with a 5-second delay added for censors for precautionary measure. Speaking of rock acts, U2 spoke U2 at halftime of 36th, mere months after 9/11. That show was an emotional tribute to the victims, featuring just 3 songs, Beautiful Day, MLK, and Where the Streets Have No Name. Other performances over the years came from the Blues Brothers and James Brown, Queen Latifah, Shania Twain, Diana Ross, Bruce Springsteen, and that time MTV produced the halftime show in 2001 with Aerosmith, Britney Spears, NSYNC, Nelly, and Mary J. Blige. That is the most 2000s thing I've ever seen in my life. I wish I could keep listening to people, but this isn't BuzzFeed, so I'm just going to stop. Just like any other event in television history, there have been people raging against the Super Bowl juggernaut machine. Many networks have and continue to provide counter-programming to the game, specifically the halftime show. Fox was the first aggressor in 1992 during Super Bowl 26 when they aired the In Living Color Super Halftime Party, and they freaking won. While some people were watching Gloria Estefan, Brian Boitano, and Dorothy Hamill do their things, 22 million others tuned into Fox's comedy series. Even with their disruption, Fox was still nice enough to include a countdown on screen for viewers to know when they can switch back to the game. Oddly enough, Fox wouldn't pull a stunt like that until 2010 with the far, far, far less superior Till Death. But their risky maneuver gave MTV the balls to try it for 5 straight years with brand new episodes of Beavis and Butthead and Celebrity Deathmatch. NBC would do the same with Fear Factor, SNL's Weekend Update, and Dateline NBC. Yeah, YouTube gave it a go in 2015. The Lingerie Bowl and Girls Gone Wild tried to lure horny men and women. And of course, there's the Puppy, Fish, and Kitten Bowls. The Super Bowl Pepsi halftime show, sponsored by Pepsi Cola trademark, is a magnificent event that merits so much discussion about our culture. While it's only 13 minutes long, society will be talking about this Sunday show for years to come. We actually already started. The best thing anyone can do is sit back and enjoy the time when we don't have to worry about anything happening in the world and hope only for something iconic to go down. And that's all the news I have for you for this week on News Time. Why don't you subscribe and check out one of our other videos? Of course, you can always head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there's so many things that it'll be able to switch from a jersey to a cardigan like that. You can follow us on Twitter at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionals podcast. Come on, subscribe. It's free. And, of course, you can always just enjoy the next big thing, like the Oscars coming up in a month or so. I don't know.